Migrating birds are negatively affected by expanding human technology around the Great Lakes. Three of the greatest technological threats to migratory birds are power lines, cars, and wind turbines. Birds perching on a wire is a common scene on the side of the road, so how can power lines kill birds? If a bird touches a live wire and the ground at the same time, the bird can be electrocuted and will most likely die from this effect. Large birds in particular have a hard time perching on power lines. Because of their wide wingspan, their chances of touching a live wire and a ground source as they try to perch on any part of a power line or telephone pole are increased. Besides being electrocuted, flying into power lines can also prove to be fatal for birds. Birds can have trouble seeing and avoiding power lines while flying through large, high-tension structures. Necks and wings can be snagged by the line while the bird tries to fly through, which can result in broken bones and death. Again, this is a particular threat to larger birds with wide wingspans. Power lines can be made less dangerous by widening the gap between conducting and ground wires, by insulating wires and metal parts, and by moving wires farther away from pole tops. Guards can also be placed over parts that are particular preferred perching spots by raptors. According to the National Institute for Urban Wildlife and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, 50 to 100 million birds are killed by automobiles in the United States every year. During migration, collision with cars can be an even greater danger for some particular birds. During winter in North America, snowy owl young from the previous breeding season migrate down from the Arctic tundra to the northern parts of the United States in search of food. These birds migrate from an area where there is little impact from human technology to areas abundant in human technology. Many of these owls have never seen cars or people before and may not be aware that these things are threats. This snowy owl was admitted to Willowbrook Wildlife Center this past winter, having been hit by an SUV. The owl suffered from a broken clavicle and trauma to its eye, which would keep it from flying and hunting. After several weeks of rehabilitation, the owl was successfully released back into the wild. Most birds hit by cars are not as lucky. Many die on impact or are left debilitated on the side of the road, unable to search for food and/or find a safe place to hide due to their injuries. With the advent of wind turbines as a new, green source of power, scientists are beginning to notice the amount of birds that are killed by them. Some people believe that wind turbines built after the year 2000 do not cause as many bird mortalities as prior to that time. Many older turbines rotate much faster than the newly built ones, which increase the likelihood of a bird being struck by a blade of the turbine. The newer turbines move much more slowly, allowing a bird time to fly through without a guaranteed injury. Though with the high volume of wind turbines being erected, the increased chance of birds being struck by the rotating blades cannot be ignored. Some birds simply are unaware of the moving arms of wind turbines. It has been studied that vultures in particular have a large blind spot in front of their head, since they are mostly looking downward in search of carrion. This can put them at a risk for being struck from above by a turbine arm, causing injury or immediate death. Placement of wind turbines and their particular design can make a difference in the amount of birds that come into contact with them. Wind turbines placed along a migratory flyway is put in the path of many more migrating birds than if it is put in an area where birds are not concentrated during migration. Many pieces of human technology, no matter how much they benefit the environment, often still pose a threat to migrating birds. Special consideration needs to be made to try to deter birds from these pieces of technology to benefit the bird and their population. For more information about birds, how they are affected by power lines, and what is being done about it, please visit the Avian Powerline Interaction Committee page at www.aplic.org.